What is going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadski, back again here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. So tomorrow actually is going to be the start of the upcoming treasure map. So I know that everyone needs to get their teams prepared, so I'm going to give you guys a video not really necessarily showing you like a one-for-one team that's going to work. We'll talk about it once we get towards the end of it, but as for these mini-map bosses, it's extremely open. You can kind of do whatever you want because these mini-bosses seem very easy this time around. So let's dive into it. Let's start things off with the first boss, which is Fujitora. If we go over to the in-game information right here, if you go over to the quest guide gives you a breakdown in terms of like the gimmicks and stuff, and they also give you recommended characters. So they are recommending you to use the Sanji and Franky PKA character. The reason for it is because when you have them limit broken, they have double special launch, and then their special allows you to remove bind by 4 turns, totaling to 8 when you launch their special twice. Meaning that if we come back over here, when you deal with the gimmicks here, right, it's 10 turns of bind on your row 1, so you want to run them as a sub, and then basically the rest of the characters can be whatever you want, because there's only normal attacks only and an immunity buff. So literally you can run whatever you want. It does not matter. Every character gets cooldown on every single fight so that you don't have to run specific classes. So again, just running the Sanji and Franky, they're a boosted unit. They allow you to remove all that bind, and that's basically all you need. And then you can fill the team out with whatever you want. But ideally what you should do is focus on your other bosses first. And again, we'll talk about it once we get to it. So again, not really much to talk about for the Fujitora boss. It is pretty easy. I guess we can take this time to talk about my personal team. This is what I'll be doing for this fight. So my whole goal here is to just use Vista. This character is phenomenal. I use him almost every single treasure map. Double special launch. His special should be ready as soon as we start the fight because everyone gets 5 turns of cooldown. We have the anniversary ship, which still gives 5 turns of cooldown. So his special ability is literally here just to wave clear the first 2 stages. And then when I reach the final stage, I'm going to use Saturn's special ability to give the massive attack boost. We have the support to guarantee an orb on him. We have the color affinity support, Gecko Moria attached to Blackbeard to give color affinity boost. So because the boss is a Psy unit, with Saturn's boost, the color affinity matching slot, shouldn't really have any issues in this fight. Moving on to our secondary boss, which is going to be GreenBull, Rio Kyugyu. Again, everyone gets cooldown, and you see that there's going to be left slots are changed to block, right slots are changed into super bomb, normal attacks only, and 6 turns of increased defense. So the recommended character that they're suggesting for this fight is none other than Bluegrass. Bluegrass special ability, if you guys don't know, it literally deals with everything. It removes the increased defense, it changes the slots into matching, it gives you an orb boost, end of turn damage, and the crewmate ability, which I know a lot of people don't see, or you actually can't see it on this screen, but when you limit break the character, they have a crewmate ability which makes bomb and super bomb matching for shooter and driven characters. So by running Bluegrass on your team, you literally deal with everything in this fight. It is ridiculous. One thing to note though is that the increased defense, that is annoying to remove, but the enemy does not have an immunity buff, meaning you could use a character such as, you know, the dual unit Kara and Wanda, who have a special ability which sets enemies defense to 0 or 100% defense reduction for 1 turn. Because the enemy doesn't have an immunity to defense down, you can do something like that. The slot change is kind of whatever. Yes, half of your slots are changed to super bomb, but left slots are changed to block. So if you just change those slots into matching, you only really need half of your team to have matching slots to really worry about. So I don't think it's going to be a very difficult fight. Just again, dealing with the defense down and the slots, that's really all you need to do. If you have the Bluegrass Rev Recruit, you can build a team around shooter and driven, and with that character you're going to be pretty much fine. So the team that I'm going to be using for this fight is going to be this. So I use this team very similarly in most treasure maps. So we're going to be using double Cat Viper, and then the super type of Cat Viper wave clears the first 2 stages. We also have Hiyori. Hiyori is a phenomenal character. Main reason for it is because of the crewmate ability, sets all slots to Wano at the start of the fight, meaning that when we wave clear the first 2 stages, we're not consuming any of our slots. We reach the final stage, we're still going to have the Wano slots, and then that's pretty much it. I do have the Bluegrass Rev Recruit on the team as well, so when we reach the final stage, I'm just going to use Bluegrass and kill. That's all I really need to do. If I need to activate another special for more damage, I can do that, but I don't think it's going to be necessary. Seems like a pretty easy fight overall. Okay, moving on to the next one, which is against Monkey D. Garp. Again, everyone gets cooldown, and for this one, you can see that there is 3 turns of paralysis, there's 2 hits of hunger, so you need to find ways to generate recovery slots or have a potential ability that can remove that. Normal attacks only, and a 1-turn barrier where you need to hit the enemy 25 combo hits in order to break the barrier, so you want to get around that. Now, in terms of the character that they want you to use for this fight, again, very simple if you have it, is going to be, well, they suggest York, and they also suggest Dole. Dole is really good for this one because her special removes the 3 turns of paralysis that you're inflicted with, and it also removes enemy barriers by 1 turn. So by just using the special ability of Dole, you are literally getting around everything. The only thing you need to deal with is the hunger. The York character here on this team will actually generate 2 recovery slots for you. You can consume them in the middle of your taps to remove that hunger. Alternatively, you can also have the ability to, the potential ability of hunger in your characters to remove it. So again, as I was kind of suggesting, having York on the team to just allow you to generate the recovery slots, change the bottom row slots to recovery, you consume them during your taps, it will remove the hunger in the middle of your taps, and then you can kill. Another thing to note is because, like, if you don't hypothetically have the Dole Rare Recruit to remove this and remove this, another way that you can do it is by using, if you go over to the database here and filter by captain abilities and then filter by beneficial effects, normal attack bypassing enemy buffs. If you have a captain ability like Cat Viper, as we talked about earlier, that allows you to go through defensive effects, you just straight up don't have to worry about the barrier on this stage. So any character such as this would work pretty well, although, you know, characters like Sobermask, Shiryu, and Queen, they only work for themselves only. But, you know, you got, I mean, same with Big Mom, only works for herself, but the Psy Gear 5 Luffy could work, you know, the Cat Viper, as we talked about earlier, could work, Dogstorm could work, the quick carrot can also work, which we'll talk about in a moment. So there are a couple of different options that you have. You could potentially do that instead of removing that, which is what I would advise if you don't have it, because if you have a look in terms of the boosted units that remove barriers, there aren't really a ton of them, and of course we are using some of them on the teams here, but yeah, there's not really a lot of options in regards to barrier removal, unless of course you have the Dole Rare Recruit. So in terms of what I'm using against this fight, if we go over to the game, this is what I'll be using. So I'm going to be using Carrot to bypass the barrier. Like, yeah, we could just use Dole, but I'm just going to use Carrot just because it makes things a little bit faster, I think. We're going to use Zorojuro to wave clear the first 2 stages. And then for this team, we're going to be using Crocodile, York, and also the Pacifista. Pacifista is there as a unit that is a dex unit that is also cerebral. I guess one kind of thing I forgot to mention is if you see in Battle 3, Garp has a weakness class against cerebral characters. What this means is that if you bring a cerebral unit, they will do double damage against Garp. So if you have a character that is dex and also cerebral, they will do 4 times the amount of damage. So that is something to keep in mind, that's a really easy way to just get free damage against this boss. Moving on to our next boss, which is against Akainu or Sakazuki. He has, again, cooldown to all units, and then for this one we have special bind on your top row for 6 turns. We have 2 turns of special reverse for your row 2 and row 3, and then there is slot attack down, meaning if you have a type slot, Wano slot, recovery, or a tandem slot, you will do reduced damage against the opponent. The enemy also does a 60% health cut, and then there's the typical defense down and also normal attacks only. So this seems like a really annoying set of gimmicks. However, if you actually go into the in-game information in regards to what they're suggesting here, it's actually very easy. So the super evolution of Dex Zoro, which everyone should have good access to via the most recent Rumble season and the Kizuna Clash. And then there's also the Grand Feast Mihawk, which was also available last month as a free-to-play character. If you have these 2 units, this fight is supremely easy because these 2 units by themselves deal with all of the gimmicks in this fight. So this is the team that I'm going to be using. We're going to have Zoro, we're going to have Mihawk, and the cool thing is by using Zorojuro as a captain, his super type, which you can activate by having a Straw Hat on your crew or Hiyori or something like that, his super type ability does wave clear, so we can use his super type to wave clear the first 2 stages. We reach the final stage, we're going to use Zoro's special, we're going to have the Mihawk special, and that's pretty much all we need to do. By activating those 2 specials, we will kill. The 3 other characters on this team are only on the team to generate as many points as possible. Nothing really too crazy. Again, as we go over to this screen, I'm just suggesting to run, you know, the 2 Zoros and then use the Mihawk. If you have this combo, the Akainu fight is going to be very, very easy. So now we get to the actual more difficult fights. These are the ones that you should be building first, the ones that you should be taking in mind the most. These are the ones you want to run as many point boosters as possible. So we're going to talk about the Kizaru fight first. So again, cooldown to all units. Again, lots of gimmicks here. So you can see that there is chain attack down on both sides. When your chain is below 2.5, you get reduced damage. When your chain exceeds 3.5, you will get reduced damage. There is also slot attack down. Any type or recovery slot reduces your damage. And then also there is damage threshold and there's damage immunity. So the character that they want you to use definitely is going to be the Rocks Pirates. If we go over in game, these are the characters that they're suggesting, being Rocks Pirates, Jewelry Bonnie, as well as the new rare recruit Kaido, okay? So if we go over to what I have here is I'm going to be using, or what I'm suggesting is by using Nami and Karina. So Nami and Karina, you can use their special to remove the damage threshold, which is fine. But then the special of the Rocks Pirates deal with the damage nullification. They deal with the chain above this value. They also give you Semler slots, which basically deal with this effect as well. Nami and Karina also have the ability to generate G slots for you, which you could start off as Karina, switch into Nami, and then use the Nami special on this stage, which is probably what I would suggest, to give you as many slots that are not type or recovery to deal as much damage to the boss as possible. So by using the special of Nami and the special of Rocks Pirates, you deal with everything on this stage. And then when you move on to the final stage, there is even more gimmicks here. Now, the one thing is there is Rainbow Shield, and if the Rainbow Shield is ever removed one time, the enemy applies it again and gives you stun. But that's not going to be an issue because of the special of the captain, should I say, of the Rocks Pirates. They will make this set to 0 as soon as you enter this stage. So you do not have to worry about Rainbow Shield if the Rocks Pirates are set as your friend captain, okay? Now, in terms of the other gimmicks on stage 3, there is 6 turns of attack down, which is why I'm suggesting Hina, Legend Hina from the treasure map. She's a striker unit, which works well with the team. Her special does remove attack down. It also gives you an attack boost or an orb boost, depending on what you already have, and it does work for quick striker and cerebral, so it's honestly a pretty good synergy across the board for this team. But you see that the team isn't completely filled out because there's a lot of different things you got to keep in mind, okay? So there is hunger. So you could go ahead and filter for characters that have the hunger potential ability or have a character that can generate a recovery slot for you. Alternatively, if you didn't consume all of the slots on this stage right here, like from the special ability of the Rocks Pirates, remember with their special, they change, what is it? It is the block slots, or change all slots including block of right column into tandem, left slots into Semler. So what you could do is keep a Semler slot from stage 2 so that you can consume it on stage 3 so that you can just remove the hunger. I think that's probably the best way to go about it. And then there is territory, which you could pretty much ignore. But that's what I'm saying, like with Hina removing the attack down, you basically only need to deal with the hunger on stage 3. There is also this effect here, the stun. I guess the stun is kind of important to talk about. So what you'd want to do is if you had the Kaido Rare Recruit, you would run it in the middle row to avoid the stun. You'd use his special, and it will reduce your crew's HP, which removes the stun. Now, if you don't have that Kaido Rare Recruit, you want to run a character that can actually remove that for you, which you would filter by special, you would filter by, I assume it's bad team effects, and then current health reduces. So these are characters that have specials that reduce your own HP, and you could also filter by characters that are in the booster filter for Sanji and Franky treasure map. So these are all the characters in this current event that have an effect that reduce HP that are boosted in this event. So you can see that the list isn't very extensive. It's a very limited list. So you could run one of these characters, or because we are using Nami and Karina, we can have this support of the chopper, which just says when you reach the final stage, cut your health by 70%, which innately will remove the stun for you. So you can run a support such as that, or you run a character in your team that reduces your HP. Now, aside from all of that, the rest of the team is open to whatever you want to do. So the Kizaru fight is actually pretty simple, so long as you are dealing with those other gimmicks. Like it's really not a lot you have to carry. So this is definitely one of the easier treasure maps that we've seen thus far. And this team with, fulfilling for those other roles that I talked about will work pretty well. In terms of what I'm using, I don't really want to flaunt this off too much because it's not really going to help too many of you guys out there. But I'm just using this, which is essentially just all of the boosted units. The friend captain for this team is going to be the Rocks Pirates. I'm going to have 2 Rocks Pirates on my squad. We're going to have Roger Rayleigh Gaban as the captain, Kaido in the middle row, Stussy on the bottom, and then the final character is just a character that is like a point booster that I can chuck on the team. Of course, I don't have Jewelry Bonnie, so I'm going to be using the free-to-play Sanji and Franky just to give me as many points as I possibly can. Okay, so let's talk about the Intrusion Battle fight, which is the Sanji and Franky fight. Again, all characters receiving cooldown. A lot of really annoying gimmicks here, and I kind of wanted to build a team that didn't utilize the new characters from any of the anniversary batches. So if you do have them, it's going to make your life easier, but you don't need them necessarily to get through the content, but it will make your life easier. So in terms of stage 2 for this Intrusion fight, there is 6 turns of paralysis, which is why I put put the Luffy on the team. So Luffy has a special which can change slots around. He gives you rainbow slots. He removes the paralysis. He also gives an attack boost to quick free spirit, which is like whatever really, but you know, it's cool that they have it, I guess. And the other thing that's important is the support on Luffy, which is this old rare recruit Ivankov. The reason why this is here is because when the enemy inflicts us with poison, the Ivankov support will remove it. So that's important. So Luffy deals with the paralysis, and then the support on Luffy removes with the poison. The bleed debuff you can completely ignore. You don't have to get rid of it. There is damage threshold, but we can ignore that again because of the captain ability of Roger Ray-Ban. Their captain ability, of course, when the enemy inflicts a damage threshold, wherever it may be, it's in their captain ability somewhere. But basically, anytime the enemy has a damage threshold, you are going to set it to 0. Yeah, it's this effect right here. If the enemy has damage threshold, reduce it by 100%. So this effect will stay active, and you are not removing the effect, so you know, you don't have to worry about these interruptions. So with Luffy, you're dealing with this and this. You can ignore the bleed, you can ignore that, you can ignore this, and then you have the damage threshold, which Roger Ray-Ban deal with, so that's awesome. When you reach the final stage, again, lots of gimmicks. So there is special bind for rows 2 and 3. Roger Ray-Ban special deals with this. The Roger Ray-Ban deals with this. And then because of Roger Ray-Ban and the way that they are designed, amplifying the amount of chain that you're getting, again, you can pretty much ignore this effect as well. There's going to be normal attacks only. The two gimmicks you have to worry about outside of Roger Ray-Ban dealing with this are these two right here. 10 turns of damage reduction and a full board of poison slots. It's really, really annoying. So what they are suggesting you to do, as you can see on this screen right here, if you have the Stussy deals with the paralysis and all that other stuff on stage 2. And then there is the Saint J. Garcia Satin that they're suggesting you to use, because Satin's special does remove the Rainbow Shield completely, and it also removes the poison slots. So Satin, if you have him, is really good on the Sanji and Franky fight. If you don't, then you do have to run something a bit more obscure, which is what I am suggesting here. So, in order to get around this, the Rainbow Shield, we have the special ability of Nami once again. We also have the York special with double special activation, can actually remove an additional 6 turns of Rainbow Shield, 6 turns with Nami, so that allows us to remove up to 12 turns, so this will be removed completely. And then in terms of the poison, we have this Caesar Rare Recruit, which is a treasure map Rare Recruit, which just straight up just removes poison, nothing too crazy. It's like no other reason why this character is here. And then because we want more type advantage stuff, we are using this Rare Recruit Ryuma. I just chose a random character that could actually work. It does actually give us a conditional boost against the enemy, which is pretty sick. So there's that, I guess. I don't think this is like the craziest team ever, but again, if you don't have any of the units, you have to run some pretty obscure characters to get around it. So again, just to kind of run it down once again, Luffy and Roger, with Roger's like captain ability deals with this, and then Luffy and the support deal with the poison and the paralysis. And then on the final stage, Roger Ray-Ban deals with all the chain and special bind stuff. We have Nami and York for the Rainbow Shield. We have Caesar for the poison slots, and then it kind of leaves an open slot where I have Ryuma, where you can basically put whatever you want in order to give you a little bit more damage on the final stage. Remember that Roger Ray-Ban will actually give you a pretty decent amount of damage with their special on the final stage, so maybe another character that can guarantee you some slots or something like that would work pretty well. Finally, for those of you who want to see what I'm using for this, again, I'm just basically running the boosted stuff. Nothing really too crazy, nothing really too much to talk about. We're using Roger Ray-Ban. We're going to have the friend captain of Rocks once again. Double Roger Ray-Ban would probably work well on this one as well. I don't think it's going to be that big of a difference, considering we don't really need to worry about removing the Rainbow Shield via the captain ability of Rocks, because Satin exists, you know. So that's pretty much it, guys. That is the breakdown of the upcoming treasure map. Hopefully this gives you a bit more idea in terms of what you should be doing. And of course, if you want to go ahead and build your own teams by using this website, I will leave a link to this website down below, so you guys can go over here and drag and drop your characters on here, add supports to make sure that you're building your team correctly. So hopefully you enjoyed the video today, and if you did, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. And that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.